I would.
You're like,
city assembled here tonight. We ask that they listen to your still small voice to know the right course of action in all matters. We ask for compassion for the needy, rest for the weary, and strength for us all. We ask your blessing upon this meeting and every individual present here tonight. We ask for your blessing upon our community, our state, and our nation. We ask that you bless our entire world with your glory. We pray in the powerful name of our Lord. Amen.
Amen. Please join me in the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, Pastor Bill. Thank you, Matt. Okay, Gloria, if you can accept for the record that the council is all here.
So noted.
Okay, first item on the agenda are the minutes.
Mayor Fitzgibbons, I move to approve the minutes of the council meeting of January 6, 2025, and consider accepting for the record the minutes of the Planning and Zoning Commission meeting December 5th, 24, the Youth Commission of August 17th, 24, the Youth Commission October 26th, 24, the Youth Commission November 16th, 24, and the Arts and Culture Commission meeting of December 3rd, 24, the Board of Adjustment December 10th, 24, and the minutes for the Board of Adjustment meeting November 12th, 2024, as presented.
Okay, there's been a motion and a second for the many meetings the last couple months. If I can ask for all of those in favor, signify by saying aye.
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 Any opposed? Okay, motion carries. The minutes. The claims.
Mayor Fitzgibbons, I move to approve the claims dated December 31st, 2024 through January 14th, 2025, as presented.
Second.
Okay, there's been a motion and a second to approve the claims from December 31st to January 14th. All of those, any discussion? Okay, all of those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay. Motion carries. So the meeting agenda approval. A motion to approve?
So move.
Second.
You guys okay over here? Okay, so there's been a motion and a second to approve the meeting agenda. Is there anything, Larry, that we need to change on the agenda? No, Madam Mayor. Okay, anything else? No one? Okay, so if we can get a, all of those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, the meeting agenda is approved. There's no special presentation. So next on the agenda is the consent agenda. All items listed with an asterisk are considered routine matters and will be enacted by one motion and one roll call vote of the council. There will be no separate discussion of these items unless a council member or a member of the public so requests, in which event the item will be removed from the consent agenda and considered in its normal sequence of the agenda. Is there anything that the council would like to take off the consent agenda? No. Any of the staff or any of the community? Okay.
Mayor Fitzgibbons, I would move to approve the consent agenda as presented.
Second.
Okay, there's been a motion and a second. Is there any discussion? Okay, so we'll go ahead, Gloria, if we can have a roll call vote.
Councilmember Romo.
Yes.
Councilmember Dugan.
Yes.
Councilmember Badillon.
Aye.
Councilmember Edwards.
Yes.
Councilmember Huddleston.
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Herman.
Yes.
Mayor Fitzgibbons.
Yes. Okay, we have our public comments next on the agenda. I do have one speaker card. Oh, here we go. Well, it looks like I have a few speaker cards, and these are for item on agenda number L4. So that is a public hearing, so if you did fill out for L4, we'll go ahead and wait till that hearing comes up. But I do have one speaker card that isn't, on for one of those agenda items, and that looks like it's Scott Barber.
Mayor Fitzgibbons, members of the council, my name is Scott Barber. My home is at 1173 East Avenida Elena here in Casa Grande. I'm standing before you this evening representing the Bob Mitchell Tribute Committee and our chair, Jerry Sullivan. And I'm pleased to provide a formal invitation to you all those present here this evening and all those that might be joining us at home by way of TV, to our dedication ceremony of the Bob Mitchell Tribute Marker out in front of City Hall here 2 weeks from last night, the next council meeting night of February 3rd. It will be at 4:30. You'll be having a study session starting at 5:30. So we'll be having our dedication out next to the monument out there at 4:30. Members of the Mitchell family will be joining us in a time of celebration, the memory and the contributions that we're marking of our former mayor, longtime educator, Bob Mitchell. And so we were pleased to have you there. What this is being done with the assistance, the cooperation, the sponsorship of the city's Arts and Culture Commission and their able staff liaison, Gloria Leja. And we'll be having the dedication ceremony, and then we'll be coming over here for some refreshments, an opportunity to visit for a few minutes before your study session at 4:30. So we're looking forward to that. I don't know if you've had a chance to look at it. Not only has the marker been set, there's still a picture that has to be inserted, but we also had the surrounding brick that's been done, and it's just beautiful. It's better than we'd even hoped. So we look forward to that 2 weeks from last night, February 3rd, 4:30, right out here. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Scott. Is there anyone else who would like to address the council? Now's the time. You have 3 minutes. Do you have any comments or questions? Not questions. I guess we can't answer the questions, but. Sure. Pardon me? Yes, you can come up. And if you can please state your name and address for us.
My name is Scott Farley. I live at 18049 West Carroll Avenue in Colonia del Sol. And I'm bringing up a fact of a negligence on planning and zoning. There are 2 houses on, trailers, mobile homes, 509 West Manor Drive and 513 West Manor Drive. The first one is leaning to one side and one day will roll over. The second one has a roof on it with no permits, and it was never fully finished by putting poles into the ground with 2 feet of concrete. Now this house is also starting to roll over, and someday when it happens, somebody will either die or get seriously injured. Now, Mr. De La Rosa knows he needed a permit for that roof. He kind of scoffed at it. He said it was $350 was too much. I know, I was living in it. So I'm just afraid that when those trailers do fail, someone will either die or get seriously hurt. I told planning and zoning this, and the code enforcement said, well, he's had it there for a couple years, so we're just going to ignore it. The law is for everyone, not just certain people. So that's all I got to say. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there anyone else? Okay, we'll go ahead and close the public comments. Next on the agenda is contracts resolution. I think it's you, or who? Kevin, sorry about that.
Thank you. Staff recommends that the mayor and city council award a contract to Ellison Mills Contracting LLC for the guaranteed maximum price number 2 proposal in an amount not to exceed $891,757. And this is for the construction manager risk contract for the sewer line portion of the Peters Road widening project, and that's between Thornton Road and Burris Road in our industrial area. This sewer line that we are asking to add to this area is a key component to serving the industrial development in that area of our city. GMP1 was already approved by council. This was to cover the sewer line portion of the Peters Road widening from Tractor Supply to the intersection of Thornton Road and Peters Road. This GMP number 2 is to cover the bore that will go underneath the road. So this is just that portion of it to add to the project. GMP number 3, which will be coming back to you in the future for approval, that'll be for the roadway construction, for the widening of that roadway. And we're hoping to get that back to council sometime this summer and then start construction on that widening if approved in the fourth quarter of this year. So, again, this is just for the 260 linear feet of bore underneath the Thornton intersection. A very complicated bore. If you've ever been out to that intersection, there's just a few utilities that are surrounding that area, so not the easiest project, but we feel we have a contractor that can get the job done without too much disruption to traffic in the area. So with that, I'd be happy to answer any questions.
Okay, thank you, Kevin. Any questions?
You know I'm going
Sure. Good.
Just two, Kevin. 260 feet, pretty long bore. What all are we trying to get underneath over there? Are you going diagonally across the intersection, or?
No, it'll be a straight line bore just to get from the west side to the east side of Thornton Road, and then that'll open up that portion of that sewer line so that it can connect to any development that happens to the south of Peters Road on the east side of Thornton.
Okay. And then 50,000 on contingency, you comfortable with that? I mean, percentage-wise, it's okay.
Yeah,
Value-wise, it seems a little low.
Yeah, we're comfortable with that. We've planned this one pretty detailed and did an enormous amount of potholing when we did the design, just to make sure we knew where everything was. Fortunately, the contractor that built Thornton Road, did the actual widening of Thornton Road, is the same one that's doing this project, so they're very familiar with what they're going to be running into.
Okay, and we found all the fiber lines?
We
All
hope
fiber.
so. We can never guarantee that.
All right, and Allison Mills is good with the same, that contingency as well?
Yes.
Okay. All right, that's all I had.
Good. Any other questions, comments? Besides using a local contractor, which is great. I'm surprised you didn't bring that up, Matt.
Someone else to change.
So, okay, so since there's no more questions, Gloria, we'll go ahead and if you can, we can get a resolution number, please.
Resolution number 5744, a resolution of the council of the city of Casa Grande, Arizona, accepting the proposal from Ellison Mills Contracting LLC to provide construction manager at risk services for the construction of the sewer line of Peters Road between Thornton Road and Burris Road, authorizing expenditure of public funds, and authorizing the execution of a contract.
Mayor Fitzgibbons, I move that we approve resolution number 5744 as presented.
Second.
Okay, there's been a motion and a second. Any discussion, further discussion on this? So or I guess Gloria, no, we'll take a roll call vote on this, please.
Councilmember Romo,
Yes.
Councilmember Dugan,
Yes.
Councilmember Badillon,
Yes.
Councilmember Edwards,
Yes.
Councilmember Huddleston,
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Herman,
Yes.
Mayor Fitzgibbons.
Yes. Thank you, Gloria. Okay, so next on the agenda, L1, and this will be, oh, the whole team's coming up. Planning and Development.
Good evening, Mayor, members of council. So this item in front of you is a zone change request along Cottonwood Lane. The property is just shy of 5 acres, and it sits about 600 feet west of Peart Road along the south side of Cottonwood Lane. The current zoning is CO, commercial office, and the request is to change the zoning of this parcel to B2, which is the city's general business zone district. The current zoning of CO primarily allows office uses and some personal service type businesses. The proposed zoning of B2 allows a much wider variety of retail and service uses. Ultimately, what's driving this zone change is the applicant is considering a development request that would allow business spaces for professionals and tradespeople, including interior storage and warehouse areas for individual purposes. Ultimately, if he were to pursue that type of development, he would need the B2 zoning, but he would also have to submit for a conditional use permit that would be considered in conjunction with the major site plan by the city's planning commission. When you look at this site, you'll notice that the surrounding properties have a lot of different uses and entitlements. Directly to the east, between this parcel and Peart, is undeveloped land, but its zoning is known as the Sonora Village Planned Area Development Zone, which its PAD guide is entitled for a lot of similar uses to what would otherwise be permitted in the B2 zone district. So in terms of compatibility with the parcel directly to the east, it has very similar uses between B2 and this undeveloped PAD. And of course, on the north side of Cottonwood Lane, you have the Canopy single-family rental development that just opened a few months ago, a medium-density residential development. And then to the west of the site is other undeveloped property that's currently zoned R3, which is multifamily residential. When looking at this site for proposed zone change, staff identified that the area with the most compatibility challenges would be the areas where it's adjacent to residential. Not only the R3, but more so Ironwood Commons, which is a single-family neighborhood directly to the south. And so as part of the zone change, staff did recommend to Planning Commission, and Planning Commission did agree with some conditions of record to ensure maximum compatibility with the adjacent residential areas. So the first condition that has to do with compatibility is that convenience food restaurants with drive-throughs or a restaurant-to-car delivery method and convenience stores with fuel pumps and hotels shall be prohibited. Otherwise, those uses would be allowed in the B2 in some shape or form. And then also buildings or portions thereof within the southernmost 100 feet of the property shall be no taller than 28 feet in height. Currently in the CO zone, 28 feet is the maximum. B2 allows building height of 35, so this just ensures that as you get closer to that single family area, it would have to maintain a height maximum that the property is currently entitled to. And then the other recommended condition is that where adjacent to residential zone properties, there shall be a minimum of a 15-foot landscape buffer between the residential boundary and any building on this site. And then within that buffer, the trees would need to be planted no further than 30 feet apart. When looking at zone changes, the criteria associated with it have to do with compliance with the general plan. So I wanted to take a look at what the general plan 2030 land use designation is for this area, and it's within the community corridor category. Within community corridor, it's designed to provide a diverse mix of uses with emphasis on linking pedestrian activity to the development and minimizing the appearance of auto-dominated areas. As you can see on this map, there is quite a diverse mix of uses with the single family for rent development on the north side of Cottonwood, and then you have some single family to the south, and then you have some business entitled property to the east. So this will add to that mixture and diversity of uses. However, because there is emphasis on making it somewhat more to a pedestrian scale and minimizing the auto dominance, There is a recommended condition of record with regard to signage, that detached signage for the property shall be limited to a monument-style sign, no taller than 10 feet in height. Another criteria is that the action shall be consistent with the city's general plan, including goals, policies, and applicable elements. So a general plan goal is to promote diverse business, retail, and office uses. And an action step associated with that is to encourage mixed use, commercial and retail structures to create a higher density of uses along major corridors. Cottonwood Lane is an arterial roadway. And so this is an opportunity for a B2 zone to better provide for a greater variety of businesses than what would otherwise be the case with the existing CO zone. And then as far as some specific applicable elements, guiding principle number 9 talks about managing growth to ensure that essential infrastructure is available concurrent with the new development. This site is pretty much considered an infill site because it's along an already improved roadway. There's already infrastructure and utilities in the area. And then guiding principle number 10 talks about planning for growth that allows the city to provide urban services in an efficient and fiscally responsible manner. So same situation, this site is situated in a manner that this can easily be developed without resulting in great expense to the city or to the developer. However, with regard to this site being right along Cottonwood Lane, which is an arterial road, there is some additional associated conditions dealing with the anticipated traffic management for the site. So this is a close-up on this undeveloped block. Of course, I mentioned the Sonora Village PAD sitting between this site and Peart, and then you have an undeveloped multifamily site to the west. There is an existing shared access easement that exists between Sonora Village and this property. When you look at the planned area development concept plan, it had identified a number of driveways onto Peart and Cottonwood that probably will not be allowed because of how close those driveways are to the Peart-Cottonwood intersection. Peart is another arterial road. Our access management standards today would say these driveways on the adjacent site are way too close together and too close to the interchange, and we're trying to ensure adequate management of traffic. And so therefore, the additional conditions are that that shared access that sits in between Sonoran Village and this property be utilized. So at the time of major site plan review, use of that mutual cross-access easement will be required. And then also a provision of an east-west cross-access easement for the benefit of the property to the west shall be evaluated. And then the sole access for this site to Cottonwood Lane shall be via this shared access easement that's identified with the purple arrows. And then the third criteria is that the proposed zone change is necessary and proper at this time to meet the land use needs of the city. And as I mentioned on a previous slide, B2 is considered appropriate and necessary here to serve this area of the city. The surrounding residential area can be reliant upon commercial services offered here. And while the current zoning CO is also appropriate, CO is not envisioned as being along arterial roads. Rather, it's considered appropriate between residential and more commercial, more intense commercial zoning, which is normally along arterial roads. So it's kind of like a sandwich zoning between B2 and residential. So staff feels that the recommended conditions on this zoning to become B2 helps provide compatibility measures between this area and the adjacent residential properties. Regarding the notification, it was followed by what the city code requires in state statute. We had received one inquiry prior to Planning Commission, and it was just by a passerby who noticed the sign. Their only verbal comment is, well, how is the traffic going to be managed? So staff feels that with the conditions that are being recommended will help mitigate that. At the December 5th Planning Commission meeting, Planning Commission unanimously moved to forward a recommendation to City Council to approve this zone change request from CO to B2 with the conditions of record that I discussed in this presentation and are included within the staff report and RCA. And that concludes my presentation.
Thank you, James. Any questions? Bob?
James, could you repeat what you said about this property having access to Cottonwood Lane? Are they dependent on Sonora Village, or are they going to have a entrance off of Cottonwood Lane?
So there's an existing recorded access easement that's split between their property, the B2 property, or the property proposed to be B2, and the adjacent parcel. So it's already in place. So the condition just simply requires them to utilize that shared access.
But people won't be able to turn into this property or leave it via direct to Cottonwood Lane? They'll have to go through this property of Sonora Village?
So it literally straddles it.
Right here.
So the in is on their property, the south arrow, and the out is actually on the adjacent property on Sonoran Village.
So they won't be able to leave through that shared?
Yeah,
Yeah.
they'll be able to
easement
Yeah.
on Cottonwood,
Okay.
but no access from
The in is
here.
on that side, the out is on this side, but that's how they're going to access it.
Okay.
Right, yeah, the driveway will be wide enough to allow both in and out. It's just the out is technically on the adjacent property, but there's a
Okay.
recorded access easement that allows for that cross utilization.
Okay.
There is a median there in
Yeah.
Florence, and so one of the concerns that you might be bringing up is, can vehicular travel make a, like a left into the site going on westbound Cottonwood? That's going to be determined with the review of a traffic impact analysis at the time of the major site plan to see if
Okay.
we'd be comfortable with some additional turning movements, but the way it would be set up is it would only be right in, right out.
Okay. Okay. And has, the applicant is in agreement with the restrictions and this?
The applicant is in attendance tonight, and he has not indicated that he's not in agreement.
Okay. Okay. All right, thank you.
Any other questions? So that's the only access point, even to Sonora Village PAD? Or these, this will be over here on this side?
And I think these two.
Ultimately, what would probably happen is that's the only access point to Cottonwood for this property, but what's being envisioned is that as the property to the east particularly develops, we would encourage for some additional cross-access
Okay,
so that potentially there'd be an access point also out onto Peart.
right.
The driveway onto Peart probably wouldn't be as far north as where that red X is.
Right.
We would probably encourage it to be
Okay.
moved a little bit further away from the intersection. But a lot of that will take some further analysis when we have the plans.
Okay, this is a public hearing, so if there's anyone that would like to come up and speak on this item? No one in the public? Okay. I'll go ahead and close the public hearing. So Gloria, if we can have an ordinance number, please.
Ordinance number 1178.211.01. An ordinance of the council of the city of Casa Grande, Arizona, amending zoning ordinance 1178 and its subsequent amendments by changing the zoning from commercial office to general business on property located generally at the south side of Cottonwood Lane and west of Pier Road, Casa Grande, Arizona.
Mayor Fitzgibbons, I move that we approve ordinance number 1178.211.01 as presented.
Second.
Okay, there's been a motion and a second. Any further discussion? If not, Gloria, if we can have a roll call vote, please.
Councilmember Romo,
Yes.
Councilmember Dugan,
Yes.
Councilmember Badillon,
Yes.
Councilmember Edwards,
Yes.
Councilmember Huddleston,
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Herman,
Yes.
Mayor Fitzgibbons.
Yes. Okay, item L2.
Stephen, can you? Good evening, Council. So the next request, a little background on the site, is located near the northeast corner of Truckle Road and Courtson Road. It's approximately 11 acres. And the request before you tonight is a zone change from R3, which is a multifamily zoning district, to a planned area development, PAD, for high-density multifamily. A PAD is a customizable zoning district that I'll go into additional details on next coming slides. The applicant wishes to add 2 additional buildings, adding 32 additional units. The existing R3 zoning requires 2,000 square feet of lot area per unit, which restricts the number of units to its current number. Accordingly, the applicant is proposing a rezone to PAD to allow the addition of 32 units, which will result in a density of 24.7 dwelling units per acre. Here's the PAD review criteria that's covered in the staff report as part of your RCA. I'll be covering the 3 highlighted items here. With regards to interrelationship of the plan elements, just a little background. The site south of Courtson, there are additional apartments nearing completion, and that's the Agave House. There's commercial development to the north and west, and multifamily on the west side of Treckle, however, it's currently vacant. And then, as you see, Choya is to the east of the site. The additional buildings will be internal of the site and will have little impacts to the adjacent properties. With regards to the general plan, the site is within the community corridor land use category. The community corridor allows for multifamily development with a density of up to 25 dwelling units per acre. And one of the community corridor goals is promote high-density residential uses along urban corridors and near major commercial centers. And one of the action steps for community corridor is to encourage higher density residential developments on infill sites and along key corridor areas. Regarding conformance to the city's zoning code, zoning ordinance, the request meets the planned area development residential design standards with regards to setbacks. One of the requirements of a PAD is that open space requirement is 20%. Just a little background for R3, it's only 10%. So the site will have approximately 27% open space meeting this requirement. And here's just some little excerpts from their proposed PAD with additional landscaping along the additional buildings here. One of the other requirements is a landscape buffer as part of the residential design standards, and that's a 15-foot minimum landscape buffer when it's adjacent to single-family, commercial, or industrial zoning property. And if this was a new site being developed, these buffers would be required where the red is shown on the map. And so there is a chance, per the residential design standards, to request a deviation from these standards. And one of them is that the development consists of proposed infill housing development that is typically surrounded by established residential neighborhoods. The site is existing and is surrounded by established development, hence meeting that requirement. However, Staff is requiring a technical correction to the PED guide, recommending additional landscaping along their Treckle and Courts and Road frontages to comply with the existing landscape requirements. Regarding stakeholder engagement, staff and the applicant met all the requirements per our city code and ARS. Prior to Planning Commission, I did receive one email inquiring about the proposed project. However, at the December Planning Commission meeting, commissioners expressed concerns regarding the proposed zoning and additional density. They were concerned with the concentration of development at the intersection of Courtson and Treckle roads, the loss of open space to accommodate the additional additional apartment buildings and parking, and concerns about crime at the existing apartment complex, and that improvements are needed to the current buildings on the site. As noted on the previous slides, this meets the open space requirements of 20%. And while there is a lot of development occurring at this intersection, these are two main arterials where per our general plan is where this type of development should occur, and the additional buildings occur internal to the site and would have little impact on the adjacent properties. Also, the applicant within the RCA today provided additional information regarding the existing capital improvements that the owner has done in the last 2 years, totaling over $1 million. And also an email from the police department's PIO officer stating that there's no issues at this apartment complex related to crime. Regarding next steps, if the zoning is approved, a major site plan application would go to Planning Commission for consideration. In that would include applicable reports, including a traffic study to determine if additional mitigation is needed to accommodate the additional units. And at that time, there'll be also additional opportunities for public input. At the December 5th Planning Commission meeting, staff recommended the Planning Commission forward a recommendation of approval for the zone change from R3 to plan area development for high-density multifamily. However, on a 3-4 vote, the motion failed. In accordance with 1768-520, a rezoning which has been denied by the Planning Commission shall not be reviewed by council except upon written request by the applicant. The applicant has provided written requests for council to consider this request. So at this time, council may, after accepting comments, approve the zoning request, deny the zoning request, or the council may also table the matter, but can only be tabled for 2 meetings. So should City Council approve the zone change request, staff recommends the following technical corrections and conditions of approval. Again, the technical correction is to revise the PAD guide to address the landscape buffer in additional detail and revise the landscape section to meet the frontages, Courtson Road and Treckle Road frontages to comply with the city landscape code. And the conditions of approval is our typical right-of-way requirements in case any additional right-of-way is needed on Treckle and Courtson. So that concludes my presentation.
Okay, thank you, Jacqueline. Are there any questions from the council? Go ahead, Bob.
Oops. So generally speaking, and I'll explain myself, I'm not in favor of this. I think that by them putting in 2 extra buildings there, they are affecting in a negative way the current tenants. They're taking away their some of their free space. And also the parking is, I would think, bound to get a little more challenging for the tenants. I had one tenant seek me out and complain about the current maintenance issues on the existing buildings, and their comment was they need to take better care of their property before they start adding on. The other thing is, I don't know the history of this place, but somewhere back in time there was a planning commission that reviewed the original construction of Courtyard Apartments, and I'm sure they took into consideration the open space and the parking and approved it based on that. It's possible that the city council reviewed it and approved it based on that. This time around, planning commission didn't pass it, and with those concerns, I don't feel right about approving this. We've got a high volume of apartments available and more coming online. I don't think the demand is such that we need to start squeezing things into existing properties. But anyway, for those reasons, I'll be voting no on this.
Thank you. Go ahead, Bob.
Just a couple questions. How many existing units are in that area now?
There's 244 units currently,
244.
so the additional 32 would bring it to 276.
So about a 15% increase.
And just, I do want to note, they did provide a conceptual site plan with this, and they do meet they are adding additional parking, and they do meet our parking standards.
Okay.
And then, I actually lived in these apartments. I'm not going to say when, because that was a really long time ago. They were still kind of new at that time. But I believe, weren't one of these or two of these buildings actually uninhabitable for a while? You know?
I do not know, but I do know the applicant may be able to address that.
Okay, that's just something I was wondering about, because I thought at least one of those buildings had a roof issue or something.
I do recall there was a building code issue a few years ago with one of those buildings. I can't give you the specifics, but yes, I think there was a building code issue with one of those buildings a few years back.
And they are all inhabitable now?
Yes, they are. And the applicant is here who could answer those questions as well for you this evening.
Okay, I guess the only other thing that I'll say is, I can't say I would agree with all of the other multifamily units that have been approved, but I don't believe that this is really the place to draw the line in the sand. We're talking about an apartment complex that's been around for 35 years or something. I mean, they've been a part of this community for quite a while. We're adding a couple of units to a place that's already there, and I believe there's still meet all the requirements we have, but that's my 2 cents.
Thank you. Questions, Matt?
Yeah, so I was gonna address the parking, but they will have more parking. And the density is still below our maximum density. And the open space is still above our minimum open space. Granted, they are taking away some of it, but this is someone's business as well, and their land that they own. And, I'm sure they made the decision that this would be economically beneficial to them. I do remember when this was built, as I was going to Choya School at the time, so it was a while ago. The other thing is there's not a lot of impact because it is internal. And we're always talking about, making things better. And it looks like they are trying to make this better, and this will make a better complex. And with the landscape buffer, so I understand not going where your red lines were, because, it's not going to change how it is right now to those properties. But along the ones, like along the street here that's pictured, and Treckle, would they have to add more landscaping? Because I drove by, and it's kept, it's green grass and trees, but there's not a lot left. Maybe there was more to begin with, but I would like to see more, because if they're gonna improve it, it would make it a lot better to add more stuff on the blue area, they'd have to add additional trees, plants, and.
Yes, per our landscape requirements, I believe it's 1 tree and 3 shrubs per 30 linear feet.
Okay.
And there's a 15-foot landscape along the front edges, so that would be improved.
And like Councilman Badillon said, I'm not in favor of more apartments per se, but this is their business, and this is not gonna make much of a difference because it is internal to this site. So it's not gonna, be very visible from the street or anything like that. So I'd still like to hear what everyone else has to say, but I think they're doing a good job here. And again, they show how much they've invested in it. And, if we stop them from investing, make more money. And I'm even thinking someone's gonna wanna move into a new unit, and that would vacate an existing unit and allow them to renovate that while they're going along. But again, that's their business as an apartment owner. So that's my 2 cents.
I do have some questions. What was the open space before?
I don't know if the applicant may be able to address that. I will say, this was developed, I believe, in 1985, so we do not have an existing site plan to calculate that, but
Yeah.
the applicant may be able to answer that.
Is your question like, what percentage of the site was open space prior to the addition of these two buildings.
What are they replacing? What are they
Gotcha.
putting?
Yeah.
So Jacqueline, can you just go to the 20 and 20%? There you go. So even after they add these two buildings and some additional parking, the site, 27% of the site will be open space. So currently, it's probably in the low 30% range today. 32% of the site is maybe open space today. So it will reduce maybe from the low 30s to 27%. Our standard is 20. So they are significantly above our standard today.
So that was just like extra parking inside of that area, basically?
No, the open space is just grass area or landscaped area, could be retention basins, but it's not parking or building area. So
Yeah.
parking and building aren't included in the open space, right?
So it's like a park or something?
Yeah.
Or like an
Somewhere you
area
can
for
see in
kids
the
to play in,
area.
and things
Yes.
like that
Well, I
Exactly.
think,
before?
She's
Yeah,
asking
so
what's where the apartment buildings are
Yeah,
going to go.
Yeah, like where you're putting it
Like-
now, like what is that? Like what are you taking away
What are they
from that
replacing?
space? Yeah.
I think maybe we should have the applicant address that. They can give us specifically what open space will be lost with the new buildings and new parking. That's kind of your question.
Yeah.
right? Yeah.
Sure, let's go ahead and have the applicant, if you don't mind, and I know there's a speaker card, it looks like, co-applicant, is it Saki? Right, Reindersma, I'm sorry if I said your name wrong. If you can come up and give your address, please.
No timing? No.
Yeah. My name is Saki Reindersma, and I'm at 8145 East Indian Bend Road in Scottsdale, Arizona. And I'm the architect for the project. I'm also the owner of, part owner of the architecture firm, so I'm a partner there as well. I want to thank the council members for actually allowing us to speak today and hear our comments regarding the plan. We started this process about 4 years ago, actually, when the city was deciding to do their general plan amendment. And James actually, Gilliardi was when we had our discussion whether we were going to have to go through a rezone or perfunctory of the R3. And then Jacqueline became our planner, and we basically went through a process where she said, okay, we're going to have to go through a rezone because it's a land use category, and that we would actually have to do a PAD. And we were very open to basically going through the process and addressing those issues. We were a little surprised, actually, that the Planning Commission was giving us a 3-4 denial, and you know, we're trying to understand what it was because we didn't really actually get these findings right off the bat. But we're very open to the discussion and any comments that you guys have. I'd like to mention that we are following the mandate of the general plan, which is 24 units per acre, and we're providing, or 25 units per acre, and we're providing 24%, which is part of the general plan's amendment that you guys process. So we're basically trying to answer the questions, hey, we're providing more housing, and it's available to all levels of people to basically do that. The development has been there for a long time. The owner is here today also as well, and the property manager who actually runs the project. So they are here to ready to speak to you as well if any questions that you have. We are not losing any amenities. We're actually expanding the children's play area and actually moving it from where that parking lot is that we planned and more to the center where the trees are. So actually, we're actually improving the property. We're also going to paint the entire property again. Moise Hendlis, who is the owner, he's put in over $1 million in the last 2 years, and he'll continue that to bring the property up to standards. As far as the comments regarding the open space, we basically are meeting the requirements and also improving them, and we're not losing any amenities. Crime was mentioned, and the police department, we asked them, and they said it's a model community. They don't have any crime or any issues in that regard, so I believe that we've hopefully answered that one as well. And then all the upgrades that he's going to make on the property to make it and improve it. So that's really, we believe that it would be a good addition to the community, more housing for everyone, and we hope to hear a positive approval. So.
Any questions for the applicant? Did you have any more
I
questions?
did, yeah.
Sure. Go ahead.
What updates will be made to the existing units as you're building these new ones? It is an older apartment complex. And
Yes, so-
are you planning on existing updates? And then for the people that are living in the apartment complex, are they going to be able to apply to move to those newer buildings?
Well, I'll leave can they apply to the newer units? I'm sure that would probably be available to them, but we're going to upgrade the skin, we're gonna paint the building, we're gonna repair all the woodwork, we're gonna basically modernize the exterior, so that basically you'll have that. We'll also improve the amenities on the interiors, tubs, bathrooms, showers, sinks, those kind of things inside the units as well. The property manager here could probably speak to the issue of the one individual that basically said that it wasn't, habitable, or, they had issues with the maintenance. But he's here also to represent that. But yes, they'll be bringing up the entire, adding more landscape along the streets that we mentioned in the red are green areas that we're going to be adding landscape. We'll agree to all of those kind of comments.
So you're saying the interior will be
They'll
updated
yes,
in all
they're
of the
cleaned up.
units?
Yes.
Thank you.
Any other questions for the applicant?
And landscaping on the interior improving as well, not just on the
Yes.
streets and
Yes,
everything that they'll be.
absolutely. And
Because I
you can
noticed a
see
lot of,
in the landscape plan that we have there, those are all new trees and new landscape.
what's your plans for during construction to keep the
Well,
green
they'll
areas
fence,
and everything?
they'll fence those areas and protect those areas while it's under construction. And to minimize, we're also adding a loop road for better fire access. That's something that the fire department asked us to do, so that we'd actually have better fire protection for the buildings, and that was added in that process. So we're actually adding another loop road right in there in between the buildings for fire, so the fire trucks get emergency access. We're improving the parking lot, we'll restripe. And then, like I said, we'll basically add a larger children's play area in the middle, more in the middle of the community.
Is that going to be done, the children's play area, is that going to be done prior to construction? Or
No,
is that, it'll
well,
be done
so,
after?
It'll be staged. So what they'll do is they'll move the children's play area in another spot while it's under construction, so they don't lose that right away. And then we'll actually bring it to another area in beautification, and that's part, and then that'll be the permanent structure.
Okay.
Any
And
other
then-
questions? I do have a question for you, or a couple. Do you know what your current occupancy rate is right now? Are you pretty much full at this point?
I'll let, the owner's here, and he'll be able to answer
Sure.
that one. I don't know it. Okay, you want to come up?
My name is Moise Hendelis. My address is 137 North Hudson Avenue in Los Angeles, California. And I came here this evening, thank you for letting me address the members of the council. I was
Move the
very-
microphone up a little bit.
Yeah.
There we go.
I was happy to hear that some of you have been around for many years, because I actually have owned this property for 35 years. And I own 4 buildings in Casa Grande, including Quail Garden Apartments, which in November was named the #1 building in Casa Grande apartment complex. So we take pride, and we're also self-managed. So I'm 75 years old. I work probably 16 hours a day, and I'm involved with all the managers. Our managers have been around for 10 to 15 years, most of our staff. So we have quite a stable staff. We pay them well, and they're very happy there. When you talked about the building being, there was an issue 2 years ago or 4 years ago, you're correct. What happened was we had a windstorm, and 2 of the buildings' roofs fell off completely. So we had to basically rebuild those 2 buildings. So they've been already rehabbed and not rebuilt, really actually rebuilt. So we're operating at about 90% capacity right now, but it's moving up. So, we've gone through, Casa Grande has gone through, after COVID, there was a drop in occupancy in Casa Grande, but it's getting built up right now. I have tremendous confidence in the community, and that's why 4 years ago, I said, let's try to add some units so we can provide more housing, affordable housing. Because some of the other buildings that they're building right now, if you take a look, they're 4 stories, 3 or 4 story walk-ups. We're building 2-story buildings. We still have the area that we're providing for the common area grounds are still, we're providing that for sufficient so that everybody can enjoy themselves. And we're rehabbing the buildings as we go along. I spent in January on this building $100,000 to rebuild the fencing around the pool and to do some of the tile roofs. But we're maintaining it at all times. We're rehabbing units as we go along because you have to, because you got to compete with everybody else. So and the building was built in 1986. I bought them in 1989. And so we're continuously rehabbing the buildings. And this Quail Gardens I just finished painting it. It was $200,000. The courtyard will probably be painted this year. It'll probably be $250,000. But we're very fortunate in that, I've been around for a long time, and we have the financial ability to do things without having to scrape the bottom of the barrel. So we've been pouring money into the buildings, and all our buildings in Casa Grande, by the way. And because they're older buildings, most of them are older buildings, but we have to do it in order to compete. And you have to maintain the buildings, or you're not going to keep your tenants happy. So I realize that. Our managers realize that. They have direct access to me and to my staff in Los Angeles. And we respond pretty much immediately when there's an issue in terms of maintenance. Thank you so much. And again, I have tremendous confidence in Casa Grande for the last 35 years. So that's why we decided to add those units. Thank you so much.
And Moise, before you leave, so thank you for answering the occupancy. So you talk about affordable housing. What is your average? I know they're all 1 and 2 bedroom apartments.
Yes.
Can you give us an idea of what that runs?
With $900, $800, $900? Where are you? What? Around $900.
Okay, for a
Yeah.
2-bedroom, okay.
Yeah.
And then you talked about rehabbing the buildings. Unfortunately, $1 million doesn't go that far anymore, but we appreciate everything you're doing there. But are you planning on rehabbing the older units right away when you do?
Yeah, we're doing them, we're constantly doing those. Those
Right.
units, as we vacate units, we're replacing the kitchens where we have to, replacing the cabinets, upgrading the bathrooms. So we've done quite a bit of it already.
Okay.
It's a constant, it's 244 units, so it takes time till you get
Right.
it all done.
Okay.
And you don't want to vacate any units. So as the tenants move
Right.
out,
Okay.
we work on the units. But you have to do it in order to
Right.
compete today. If you don't modernize and upgrade your apartments, you're going to have an empty building. And if
Okay.
you don't maintain it, you're going to have an empty building.
But the outside will be painted so that it'll all look the same?
Yes.
With the new buildings?
Yes.
Okay. Okay.
We painted the buildings about 4 or 5 years ago, but they are due now for another paint. We did a lot of exterior stucco repairs and all that stuff this past year. So the next project is the painting. We're ready pretty much for it already.
Okay. Okay.
Thank you so much. Appreciate you letting me speak to the council.
Any other questions? I know this is a public hearing, and I know you two were the ones that had your speaker cards, both
Yes.
of you.
Yes.
So we have those, but, again, if there's anyone here that would like to speak on this item, now's the time to come up and address the council and the applicant. No questions? Nothing? Okay. Okay, thank you.
Thank you so much.
Mayor Fitzgibbons?
Yes.
I have a question for staff.
Sure.
I have just a quick question. Would this project trigger some kind of traffic study for a possible turn lane? Or has a traffic study ever already been done due to the additional density to additional residents there at the courtyard?
So if the zoning is approved, the next step would be the major site plan application, and with that major site plan is a traffic study that would determine if there's any additional mitigation measures needed.
Okay, thank you. And I just wanted to acknowledge the fact that you got to stay competitive with the expanding apartment market here in Casa Grande. And I really appreciate you sticking with Casa Grande for all these years and maintaining that project. And I don't want to see it go down or go away. So, thank you.
And I did have one more question. I know the public notice sign is up, and, a lot of people don't understand what those are, but are your current residents aware of your application, and are you getting pushback from any of those residents and, concerns about what's going on? Have you notified them internally?
I think other than they would like to move into the new apartment.
Can you come up to the microphone?
Can you say that in the microphone for those watching? Okay.
They would like to move into the new apartments when they're ready.
Right, okay.
And is that an option?
Yes.
Okay.
Right.
Do they get first dibs?
First dibs?
A wait list?
Yes, they will, yes.
Yeah.
Right, okay.
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, so this is a public hearing, there's no one else, so I'll go ahead and close the public hearing. And any other questions from the council? Okay, Gloria, we'll go ahead and, if we can get an ordinance number, please.
Ordinance number 1178.458, an ordinance of the council of the city of Casa Grande, Arizona, amending zoning ordinance 1178 and its subsequent amendments by changing the zoning from multifamily residential to planned area development on property located generally at 2060 North Traco Road, Casa Grande, Arizona.
Mayor Fitzgibbons, I'd like to move approval of ordinance number 1178.458 as presented.
Second.
Okay, there's been a motion and a second. Is there any further discussion? And, I just want to make a comment on the discussion. Of course, as we move forward on the apartments, there's been a lot of discussion. We just had a meeting last week from the community, and we're trying to figure out where our direction will be. But in the past, we talked about approving zone changes for affordable housing and possibly senior housing. And so this, with the affordability piece is important. We know that's important even though we have new projects coming on board. But, this is something that we're concerned about. And obviously, this is a community that offers that. And also, we talk a lot about compatibility. And I think, that's really important, to have the right project, right place, right time. And like you said, Sean, this is, we appreciate you investing and giving back and trying to upgrade and be competitive. And the compatibility is there because it's your current site, So I just wanted to bring that up because there are people that, are concerned about more apartments coming in. But my biggest concern on this piece was your current residents and how they feel about you putting, kind of like what you were talking about, Councilmember Romo, putting two buildings right in the middle of your current community. So, there obviously is no one here today, so there must not be too many concerns with that, but though that would have been my biggest concern there, so. So anyway, so that was my discussion, but, so why don't we go ahead and, Gloria, if we can have a roll call vote, please.
Councilmember Romo.
Yes.
Councilmember Dugan.
Yes.
Councilmember Badillon.
Yes.
Councilmember Edwards.
Yes.
Councilmember Huddleston.
No.
Mayor Pro Tem Herman.
Yes.
Mayor Fitzgibbons.
Yes. Okay, item L3.
Right, this next presentation includes three requests, including two minor general plan amendments, and just a little background on that. I know last month you heard our second round of major general plan amendments. Major general plan amendments are only heard twice a year by Planning Commission and City Council. However, minor general plan amendments can occur at any time, and is usually done in conjunction with the zoning, as these are tonight. So a little background on the site. The site consists of a little over 3,000 acres located at north of Gila Bend Highway between Montgomery and Russell Roads. It's part of the Legends Plan Area Development, an annexation which was approved in 2006 for a large mixed-use development consisting of almost 7,000 acres. So on the map here, the red shows the entire Legends PAD, and the yellow shows the proposed amendment for the mining. And then here's another map. Apologies for my alignment on the yellow line, but again, this shows the existing PAD land uses and the PAD amendment. Again, the first request is a minor general plan amendment to change the growth areas from Phase 2 to Phase 1. And the second minor general plan amendment is to remove Indian Valley Road and Clayton Road from the planned roadway network within the project property boundaries. Here's a map excerpt of the planned roadway network that's part of our general plan showing these roadways. And then here is an aerial, again, showing those roadways within the project site. And then the third request is a planned area development to the Legends PAD to allow for mining activities. The mining area would be within the purple area, approximately a little less than 3,000 acres, and then the bright green area is approximately 400 acres and will be used for open space conservation for the burrowing owl. Regarding the general plan review criteria for the growth areas, here are the review criteria that's covered in the staff report. Staff finds this criteria has been met and that the development of the site as a mining facility will have minimal city service expansion to accommodate the proposed use rather than from the original proposed uses. And then regarding the roadway, again, here's the general plan criteria that's covered in the staff report. Staff finds this criteria has been met. The roadway network was also reviewed by Public Works staff as well, and it's concluded that there will be no negative impacts to the roadway network. Here's the PAD review criteria. I'll be covering the two highlighted items regarding the general plan and the city's zoning ordinance, conformance to the city's zoning ordinance. Just a little background, a major general plan amendment was approved in June of last year to change the land use category from neighborhoods to manufacturing industry, shown on the map to the right. One of the goals of the manufacturing industry is to mitigate adverse impacts from industrial users, and action steps is to create effective buffers within industrial development adjacent to lower intensity residential office or institutional land uses by using a variety of techniques, including berms, landscaping, and walls. As the Santa Cruz Copper Project is designed, Ivanhoe Electric would incorporate earthen berms and landscaping along the edges of the property to help create an effective buffer to lower the intensity of land uses that either exist or are proposed adjacent to the site. And one of the other goals is promote diversified types of industries and uses. Ivanhoe Electric is proposing to use most of the site to establish Santa Cruz Copper Project. Copper project can only be located where the copper resources naturally exist. Casa Grande has a unique opportunity to support the copper industry because this resource exists within its planned area boundary. And development of the Santa Cruz project would promote diversified industry in the area, such as material suppliers, fabricators, et cetera. And in addition, the timing is optimal as there is an increasing global demand for copper to support the global transition to clean energy. With regards to the zoning ordinance, Santa Cruz Copper Project proposes a copper mine and renewable energy generation area, which is consistent with industrial manufacturing land uses designed for the general plan. Within their PAD, they have the following permitted uses, including potentially renewable energy generation. And the table to the right shows what they're proposing as their setbacks from the property lines. This map is gives a little more detail on their land uses. As you can see, again, on the north end of the property in the green is the proposed area to accommodate conservation area for the burn owls. Again, it's approximately 400 acres. And I also did want to note that this site is also accommodating the I-11 corridor that is proposed along the north and eastern edge of the site within the Montgomery Road alignment. Regarding stakeholder engagement, again, staff and the applicant met all the requirements. Since the December Planning Commission, staff has received a few phone calls asking more technical questions regarding mining activities and its impact on groundwater. Due to these technical aspects of these questions, staff asked the applicant to follow up and provided their contact information. Ivanhoe did provide a summary of these conversations and is provided as a handout tonight. Regarding next steps, if the zoning is approved, again, the next step would be a major site plan application, and that would go to Planning Commission for consideration, and would include, again, applicable reports, including a traffic study. And at that point, there will be also additional opportunity for public input. So with that, recommendations at the December 5th Planning and Zoning Commission meeting, the commission voted unanimously 7-0 to forward a recommendation of approval to City Council for a minor general plan amendment to change the growth areas from Phase 2 to Phase 1. Oops, sorry about that typo. And at December 5th, Planning and Zoning Commission voted unanimously 7-0 to forward a recommendation of approval to City Council for a minor general plan amendment to remove Indian Valley Road and Clayton Road from the planned roadway network within the project boundary. as well as unanimously voted 7-0 to forward a recommendation of approval to City Council for the planned area development amendment to the Legends PAD to allow for mining activities with the following condition of approval, and that is our right-of-way condition. So that concludes my presentation. Happy to answer any questions council may have.
Thank you, Jacqueline. So how do we handle this, Brett? There's 3 different hearings. Do we have to open them, do them all separate?
There are, ultimately, it's up to you, but since they were noticed different, my preference is to, to open each hearing and then vote on that specific item in
Okay.
the order that they go. So
Okay.
the first one will be for the growth area from 2 to 1, because if you don't approve that, then you can't approve the next one to take the things out. So we'll just kind of follow in order, but since they were noticed separately, the best course of action is to open and close 3 public hearings.
Okay, okay. So we'll go ahead and start with the first one, Resolution 5273.33, the growth area. Are there any questions at this point from the council? Okay, so this is a public hearing. So if anyone would like to speak on this, please do so. Come up and give your name. Hi, John, if you can give your name and address, please.
Good evening, Mayor Fitzgibbons and members of the council. My name is John Gillespie. I'm a land use attorney with the Rose Law Group, 7144 East Stetson. Here on behalf of Ivanhoe Electric, we have many members of our team from Ivanhoe Electric who have been working closely with your staff over the past year on this exciting project for the city that really has a lot of important aspects that are really, I think, just bring out. This is a Casa Grande project at its core. This is the copper industry that we're built on. This is jobs. This is economic growth for the city, and really an exciting thing to be a part of. I could go into some specific details, but also want to point out we're at a beginning stage of this project. There's a lot of further permitting process to go through and vetting to go to bring this mine to fruition in the city. So I'll defer to any specific questions that you might have there. And I know we're going to go through maybe 3 hearings here, but I'm happy to kind of take all of the questions now and kind of work through anything that you might have there. To point out just two big numbers that I think are really great to highlight. Jobs. We're expecting 750 jobs to be created from the mine. 550 of those jobs are on site in 3 to 4 years when this project gets built out, that will be here to support from our population base and to bring great jobs to the city. $9.2 billion of economic activity is expected to be generated from this project as a copper mine that produces revenue for the town or for the city and for the region. One of the awesome things that staff, they did a great job pointing it out, that 400 acres of conservation area for the burrowing owl. I've done several projects here in Casa Grande. I know this is an important issue to many of our citizens, and so a great step taken by Ivanhoe to really conserve an area for the burrowing owl. With that, I'm happy to take any questions that you might have about the project.
Okay. Any questions? Go ahead, Bob.
I'm all in favor of this. I've sat in on a couple of briefings, and it's exciting. It's going to be a wonderful addition to our community, and I'll be voting yes on it. But I do remember back when the Legends was first starting up, and it was intended to be a residential development area. But the part I remember is dedication of land for a fire station and maybe even a police substation. Mm-hmm. Is there any chance that was discussed or could be considered?
Councilmember Huddleston, I don't have the background history of the fire department discussion. I'm happy if the Ivanhoe team has heard about it, but I would have thought that would have been a development conversation for when it built as residences that need a fire station, that need some of those public services. Mm-hmm. So I imagine that might have been a part of that conversation.
And I don't mean to put you on the spot, and I know you're not held accountable for what was discussed way back then. But anyway, thought I'd ask, just in case.
Yeah, no, it is a good question, and with the Legends PAD being proposed for a large residential development that was envisioned, before the recession, there's a lot of factors there that things have changed. One of the things that hasn't changed is that a residential use is a really heavy water use. And so with a mining project coming in, we've done some of that preliminary study to see that, we're not going to have a significantly stronger use of the water in that area with a mine project that goes over 20 years as opposed to a residential project where you kind of have to show water over 100 years. So just kind of an example that there's many things that do change, but we're working to make sure that we're providing a use and pivoting to a use that the land can accommodate, and that we'll go through the permitting processes to accomplish it.
Matt?
Just a couple questions. Yeah, those are probably, you were in high school maybe when they did that. But how tall is that the tailings pile? I know there was a bunch of numbers, but I couldn't find it.
I'm going to turn to Cammie because I think she's going to have the answer to that. To also just give us a little bit more of the process, we'll go through a major site plan process. That's the process with the city where we do get into some of the specifics of, here's where the land uses are all distributed and what the tailings pile and the berm heights and those aspects. But.
Hi.
So 140.
I'm Cammie Ballard, 99 North Sackatoon Street, Casa Grande, Arizona. The tailings pile is a maximum of 140 feet in height.
Okay.
Is what we're projecting.
I see it now, but I went through it kind of fast. So
You came back to that page.
Yeah. And then I'm glad about the I-11 corridor staying there because that could be very important. And I know it's could be a long way off, but maybe not. So you guys are all good with that staying in?
Yeah, we've designed around the corridor. I know that ADOT does it, and we've actually discussed it with ADOT and gone and had a few conversations. We've had a few conversations with them, but we have no intentions of getting in the way of that.
Okay.
And maybe we'll have to move things around, or they might have to adjust it slightly, but we know it's going to go through there at some point, and so we're designing around it.
Great. And then I just wanted to add, like with all the jobs, everything, and less intense water usage, and personally, I know that Ivanhoe has been here a little while, and they're very involved in the community already, supporting a lot of stuff. So we're glad, it's neat to see someone come in and already start helping out the community and just kind of, how you guys are going to be as partners going forward. So I'm glad to see that. Thanks.
Thank you. We're happy to be here.
Thank you, Cammie.
Thank you.
Any other questions?
No. Yeah, I've got a couple.
Sure.
Matt hit one of them. I was worried about the I-11 alignment. I want to make sure that we are working with that so that it stays.
Yes.
Have you had discussions with Francisco Grande? Because I know you're going to be your next door neighbors.
We have. They are aware that we are there, and we've had discussions with them, and so far we haven't had any
No battles looming?
No battles yet. So
Rose Law Group would have
hopefully
to decide which side to go with.
Yeah, I think we have a decent relationship with them.
Okay, and then just for my own knowledge, because I didn't get a lot of the history, you are looking at underground mining on this? So
Yes.
no open pits, so that's good.
It'll be underground.
All being processed tailings, so no leach pads?
So we are still doing trade-off studies. Right
Okay.
now, we have a tailings facility. As we study things, there might be some changes, but right now, we're planning on tailings.
Tailings, okay. And then, just my last point, earth and berms, love the idea to help blend in. But when it comes to that time, I would like to see contours and not just a 3-to-1 slope and boom, there it is, and it's obvious what it's doing, so.
Yeah. So
Just a little point for future reference.
appreciate that, and we will take that into consideration. Thank you.
Any
That's
other
all.
questions? No? Okay, so I know we're still in the public hearing, I believe, right? So is there anyone else?
Thank you.
Anything else, John? Okay. Okay, we'll go ahead and close the public hearing for this particular resolution, and if we can get a motion. Oh, resolution number, sorry.
Resolution number 5273.33, a resolution of the council of the city of Casa Grande, Arizona, adopting a minor amendment to the city of Casa Grande General Plan 2030 as adopted by resolution number 5273 and as previously amended by amending the growth area from Phase 2 to Phase 1 for approximately 3,323 acres of property generally located north of Gila Bend Highway between Montgomery Road and Russell Road, Casa Grande, Arizona.
Mayor Fitzgibbons, I would move to approve resolution number 5273.33 as presented.
Second. Okay, there's been a motion and a couple seconds there, Gloria. So, any further discussion? Okay, Gloria, we'll go ahead, and if you can give us a roll call vote, please.
Councilmember Romo.
Yes.
Councilmember Dugan.
Yes.
Councilmember Badillon.
Yes.
Councilmember Edwards.
Yes.
Councilmember Huddleston.
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Herman.
Yes.
Mayor Fitzgibbons.
Yes. Okay, so the next one is Resolution 5273.34. So I will go ahead and open the public hearing if anyone has any more questions on this item. Anyone on this item? Okay, close the public hearing. And Gloria, if we can have a resolution number, please.
Resolution number 5273.34, a resolution of the Council of the City of Casa Grande, Arizona, adopting a minor amendment to the City of Casa Grande General Plan 2030 as adopted by Resolution number 5273 and as previously amended by removing Indian Valley Road and Clayton Road, Casa Grande, Arizona from the planned road network.
Mayor Fitzgibbons, I move approval of resolution number 5273.34 as presented.
Second.
Okay, a motion and a second. Any further discussion? If not, Gloria, if you can please, if we can get a roll call, please.
Councilmember Romo.
Yes.
Councilmember Dugan.
Yes.
Councilmember Badillon.
Yes.
Councilmember Edwards.
Yes.
Councilmember Huddleston.
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Herman.
Yes.
Mayor Fitzgibbons.
Yes. Okay, and final one, ordinance 1178.287.01. We'll go ahead, oh, this isn't a public hearing then?
Yes.
It is.
Oh, it is a public hearing, okay. So we'll go ahead and open the public hearing if anyone has any questions on approving a major amendment to the Legends PAD adopted for property generally located north Gila Bend Highway between Montgomery Road and Russell Road. Any questions? Okay, we'll go ahead and close the public hearing. And I'll take a motion. Oh, sorry, ordinance number.
Ordinance number 1178.287.01, an ordinance of the Council of the City of Casa Grande, Arizona, approving a major amendment to the Legends PAD adopted for property generally located north of Gila Bend Highway between Montgomery Road and Russell Road, Casa Grande, Arizona.
Mayor Fitzgibbons, I move that we approve ordinance number 1178.287.01 as presented.
Second.
Okay, motion and a second. Any other discussion? Okay, Lori, if we can have a roll call vote, please.
Councilmember Romo.
Yes.
Councilmember Dugan.
Yes.
Councilmember Badillon.
Yes.
Councilmember Edwards.
Yes.
Councilmember Huddleston.
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Herman.
Yes.
Mayor Fitzgibbons.
Yes. Okay, item L4. Is that you, Jacqueline? Okay.
A little background on the site before I get started. Many of you may be familiar. It was previously the historical site of the Fisher Memorial House, which unfortunately burned a few years ago and had to be demolished. This site is located again at the corner of Olive and 8th Street, and it's approximately half an acre. The request before us today is a zone change from B1, which is neighborhood business, to B3, central business. Oh, sorry, I forgot my slides. Existing zoning, proposed zoning. The B3 zoning district allows for both commercial development appropriate to central business areas, including residential development with a conditional use permit. Again, this request is just for a zoning No application has been submitted for multifamily development at this time. I do want to note that there has been some comments regarding the site being a multifamily, but again, that is, would be allowed with a conditional use permit that would be approved at, or considered at Planning Commission. Here are the zone change review criteria. Again, I'll be going into additional details on each of these on the next slides. First request, or first is that the action consistent with the city's general plan, including goals, policies, and other applicable elements. Did want to give a little background on the downtown land use category. This was a new category that was introduced in the 2030 general plan, and it's extended 2 blocks north of Florence Boulevard, as well as east, west, and south of the core downtown. And that was meant to extend the downtown form and to support the core downtown area. As you can see on the map here, the site is just, again, north of Florence Boulevard, and this rezoning would implement those general plan changes. So again, that this action is consistent with the general plan, including the goals, policies, and other applicable elements. Under the downtown land use category, some of the goals is to prioritize mixed-use development in and around the surrounding downtown areas, and to provide a people-first street by planning for safe and efficient pedestrian and bicycle travel, setting downtown apart as a unique part of the community. Do want to note at the Planning Commission meeting there was concerns with traffic and sidewalks, and as this being an older part of town, not all these areas have sidewalks, but as infill development does occur, sidewalks and additional pedestrian would be included as part of the major site plan. One of the elements also in the general plan is neighborhood preservation, revitalization, conservation, rehabilitation, and redevelopment. And that vision is to improve neighborhood appearance, living conditions, and overall quality of life in the city's older neighborhoods through the preservation and revitalization of residential and commercial areas. One of those goals is to revitalize commercial development in older neighborhoods and to prioritize straightening and revitalizing existing commercial development in older neighborhoods. Second criteria is that a rezoning conforms to the general plan if it proposes land uses, densities, or intensities within a range of identified uses of the general plan. Again, the request to B3 is an appropriate zoning district in the downtown land use category per the 2030 general plan. Per the general plan, here are some appropriate land uses identified in the general plan and those appropriate zoning categories as well. And third, the proposed zone change is necessary and proper at that time to meet the land use needs of the residents of the city. B3 is the best zoning category for the site. It allows for the reduction of setbacks that would push buildings closer to the streets and allow for greater setbacks in the rear to address compatibility with the existing neighborhood to the north. Regarding next steps, if the zoning is approved, a major site plan application would go to Planning Commission for consideration. If the applicant wishes to pursue residential development at that time, a conditional use permit would be needed and would be considered by Planning Commission. Both of these applications would provide additional opportunity for public input. And depending on the requests, just note some of the additional input would be notices of application and review, and even potentially a neighborhood meeting if that seems applicable with the number of comments we receive at that time. Regarding notification efforts, staff and the applicant met all the requirements. I did not receive any comments or inquiries prior to the Planning Commission meeting in December. However, since the December Planning Commission meeting, staff has received a few phone calls and emails regarding the opposition of the site related to multifamily. Again, this request is strictly related to zoning of a commercial site of B1, which is neighborhood commercial, to B3, central business. And any residential development proposed for the site would need to obtain a conditional use permit. Again, that would be approved by Planning Commission. And site design would be determined with a major site plan and considered by Planning Commission as well. Regarding recommendations, at the December 5th Planning and Zoning Commission meeting, the Commission voted 6-0 to forward a recommendation of approval to City Council for the zone change request from neighborhood business B1 to central business B3. with the following conditions of record. Did want to note that staff originally included a condition of record to limit the height of structures to 28 feet. However, through discussion with the Planning Commission, it was determined that it would be more appropriate to review and determine heights with the major site plan. There is one condition of record related to if the site is developed as one project prior to construction, the site shall be replatted to one lot. That concludes my presentation.
Okay, any questions at this point from the council? No?
No.
Okay, so it is a public hearing, and I do have 2 speaker cards. So I think, Diane, if you want to come up, and just if you can give your name and your address, please.
Thank you. I appreciate being able to speak. So when I moved to this neighborhood 10 years ago, it was not that great of a neighborhood. It was pretty unsafe and pretty dangerous. I had gang fights out in front of my house, drug dealers in the alleys. We had a lot of empty homes that homeless were living in, but the neighbors watched out for each other. There's a lot of people that live in this neighborhood that have been here for over 30 years, multi-generational families, and that's what I noticed about it, and it made me feel safe. So I wasn't afraid to step out of my house. In the past 5 years, the neighborhood has changed. Why? Not because of police presence, because the neighbors, we've taken our neighborhood back. And we'd like some consideration when you consider what is going to go into the neighborhood around here. Since just in the last 5 years, there are at least 4 homes that were uninhabitable that have been purchased and rehabbed. We talk about affordable housing. There's affordable housing still in this area because of the homes that are down there. They're kind of run down. If we can help people buy these single-family homes, fix them up, we're helping build that neighborhood. It's a lot nicer than when I moved in. I'm not afraid to walk down my alley anymore. I have an alley on the side of my house and behind my house. I personally go out there and clean it up with my rake and my shovel. I have a lot of homeless people in the neighborhood. They know me. They know me by name. I go out there, I check on them. I want to know who's around my neighborhood. It's not just me. It's my other neighbors, my neighbors that are over here. So when I hear someone coming in that want to look at this lot and put in a multifamily, or they want to change it to a B3, I have elderly neighbors that walk down the street. They don't have a sidewalk. There's a lot of people that ride their bikes. There's a lot of families that are out there. They have no place for their kids. I have people that live down the street and they put their little sign out, children out playing. My neighbors are concerned about all this traffic coming through our neighborhood now, speeding through the stop signs. These are my concerns. What is being proposed here is not compatible with this. There's some beautiful homes on the other side of that lot. I walk by this one house, you never see a leaf in their yard. How he keeps it that clean, I don't know. But I'm just here, I'm real passionate about this neighborhood. I moved here on purpose, in that house on purpose. I love downtown Casa Grande. I would just like you to consider building beautiful around here. Let's rebuild this neighborhood. I've seen 8 to 10 homes rebuilt. They're not renters in them anymore. Home ownership is what I'm seeing happen in this community. So I would just really like you to consider that. And, I kind of spoke up to some neighbors, and people care about the neighborhood. We really do. And we just don't know how to speak up sometimes. I'm not working as a teacher anymore. I got a voice, so thank you for that.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Diane. Okay, we have another speaker card. Is it Joanne? McCallick, Carlos, Amaro? Okay. And I apologize if I didn't say your names right, but if you can give your names and your address, please. Okay. Oh, sure. Oh. Okay.
Now you can hear us.
Yeah, if you can give your name
Okay.
and address, please.
Okay, my name's Carlos Amaro and Joanne Mahalik. We live at 319 East 9th Street on Casa Grande. We're here to oppose it also from changing from a B1 to a B3 because we've lived there for 25 years and we like our neighborhood. And we heard that they're talking about a 3-story building coming in possibly. And if that happens, I mean, that's going to take away all our privacy in our backyards. We can't have our kids back there playing because we're going to feel like we're being watched all the time. And it's probably going to, also we're worried about our taxes going up, property taxes.
The house
and
value.
The house value.
If we want to sell it, they may not want to buy there now because.
Because if they have that house, the apartment buildings behind us, 3 stories, they're going to be like, we don't want to live here. So those are our main concerns.
And then the traffic.
Yeah.
I mean, there's, like, I literally live right there on 9th Street. And
Right next to
Olive.
the courthouse.
And,
Yes.
and there's people running the stop sign
Yeah.
that's going east and west, people that's coming north and south on Olive. Like sometimes, I mean, there's several accidents that's happened there.
Yeah.
And so with all that coming even more on Olive and 8th is a bigger concern as well. And then you can't really, when you're going east on 8th Street, you have to turn right to exit to Florence Boulevard. So like there's only kind of, just the traffic
it's gonna
and the
make it
safety.
congested, yeah.
And then just, we haven't, like living next to the courthouse, thank God we haven't had any graffiti or anything like that. I'm not saying that that's what's gonna happen, but just, and when I'm all about helping the community, you know, for whatever it is, but there's other locations that possibly can be considered, for that specific,
Site.
site.
Yeah.
Is your house right behind this? Is it north of that?
No, ma'am.
That
It's
lot?
It's
Okay.
County Quarter. We're literally next to the city courthouse.
Got it.
Right, yes.
Okay.
We're on the empty lot behind
It's over
it.
here. Okay.
But it's city-owned as well. You guys own the city.
Yes,
correct?
yes, we do.
Yeah.
But
Recently, I guess, right?
We
Right.
appreciate your time. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you for coming. Okay, this is a public hearing. Oh, would you like to speak? Come on up, please. If you can give your name and address, please.
Yes, my name's Nat Smith, and I'm at 918 North Olive Avenue, in Earl Thode's house. And so, they're right about, the neighborhood is getting better, and it's on the fringe of the historic area district. And, you know, I mean, I don't know what their plans are. You know, I'm going to ask you to please table this before it gets too far along, and then it becomes more of a battle if you're, you know, have concerns. But, you know, there's lots of places, I mean, if they want to build something like this, they can go down on Jimmy Kerr in Arizona. You know, there's lots of property there. A perfect example is the house right across, it's on 9th. They just built it. It's right by Marge's house, the big new house on that lot that was empty. It's really a nice place. And that would be a beautiful thing for that acre there on 8th and Olive to have a really nice home there. And, you know, I mean, there's lots to it, but tabling it so more people can get involved in it because, you know, we're only really guilty of being slow, okay? So, you know, we should have been on the ball back in December, but like I said, it's at your discretion, and thank you very much. If we could table, that'd be great.
Thank you. Sure, come on up. You can give your name and address, please.
And I'm Reed Burke, and I'm at 116 West 9th Street. Shared 9th Street with my neighbors. And I'm intimately involved with the knowledge behind this project because the man who owns it and wants to build it is my father. And I've spent a lifetime being pulled out of my bed. Come on, son, let's go. You know, let's go build. He's been a contractor my whole life. And I've watched him build. And I know what he builds. I mean, I did it with him. And my brothers and I, as smart aleck kids, would find out, who you building this for, Dad? This is for Mr. Anderson. And my brother and I would say something like, well, you know what you can do for Mr. Anderson. You're just kids. But my father would say, yes, I do know what I can do for Mr. Anderson. I can build a beautiful home. And he's always said, if I don't want to live in it, I don't want to build it. And so I would say to the council, who must approve it, and to my neighbors who will live with me, because I live there with you. I'm on your street. This is going to be a beautiful project. I've already seen the cutout models of it. I've seen the drafting of it. The roof line is beautiful, really stunning roof line. It'll be gorgeous for the neighborhood. I'm excited about it. The idea of not my father who's going to build it, but the contractor. I know him. I know what he's going to build. It's going to be beautiful. It's going to make downtown, it's the kind of thing we want. It's senior living. It's like what we have here in our backyard, this senior living. It's really going to be sharp. And it's going to make our property worth more. It's going to make Casa Grande better. I couldn't be more thrilled about it. And not because my father's going to do it, or the contractor that I know, because he doesn't live here, although he probably would like to change his mind and move here. But I do live here. I just live down the street. It's going to make my neighborhood and my home better. So I hope it gets approved. I know what it will bring to the community. Thank you.
Thank you. You can give your name and address, please.
My name's Jesse Runyon. I'm at 311 East 9th Street, which is directly behind what they are trying to build. We've only been here for a couple of years. Love the spot, love my neighbors. I mean, they've made it feel like home. Moved from Maricopa. Love the fact that it's not HOA, and the view, being able to do what I want. I got a big backyard with an RV gate. I got room back there right now. They build that, I don't. And the privacy thing is huge. It's literally gonna look right into my daughter's back window and our back window. And it's just, you know, we like to have fires out there in the backyard and hang out with the dogs and stuff, and that's gonna take away from our view. You know, I don't wanna see a roof line, I wanna see a skyline. So it's just, and bringing the property value up, no, it's gonna bring the property value down, because nobody's gonna wanna move into my house when you got a big building to stare at in the backyard. So I definitely oppose it, not looking forward to it. None of my neighbors are, and like I said, it's literally right over my back wall. I don't wanna stare at another wall. Thank you.
Thank you. Hi there. If you can give your name and address, please.
I'm Michelle Jacobo. This is my mom, Florine Antone, and we both live directly behind the project site at 816 North Olive Avenue. And I would say, being a concern, I know my mom we've lived there for quite a while, and our neighbors too. Just the concern of the traffic as well, because since we are on that corner house, we've had the HOA remove those side bushes that cause quite a lot of accidents because of the traffic coming from Florence Boulevard going down to straight that way to, of course, the neighborhoods down there. So I know we've had some issues with those car accidents, and I'm just a little concerned with the traffic evolved. And I like to say, to look around the community, does this really fit into this type of community? I know it is a little bit older. The house is a little bit older, and so that's my thing. And also the big thing is just the privacy, since we are directly from there. I know the previous building that was there before, it was like a 2-story. And I don't know if we are aware of the history of that building. It used to be a mortuary as well, so I don't know how the future tenants of that complex would feel about being above that same ground as well. But the privacy is the same thing like our neighbors. We also like to have bonfires in the backyard, and even with that 2-story building from the previous owner, we felt that our privacy was invaded because it was directly into not a largest backyard, but everybody else is on that little block as well. So I would just say that that would be my concern as well. And like I said, like they said before, there's no sidewalks really, so it's just kind of upkeep, and it is a small space, so I'm interested in how that's kind of gonna go working with the parking, with like the housing, and of course, like if they want to do that full 3-story, then that would be really concern for us. I don't know if my mom would like to say.
Yes, my name is Florine Anton. I am the owner of 816 North Olive Avenue facing west. I'm the only house there. Then the other one's behind me. Yes, I am concerned about, the building that's going to be built. Hopefully not, because like the other neighbors said that, that's our privacy there, my backyard. And if they're going to have a 1-2-story high, they're going to be looking over in my yard, looking at what I'm doing. And for also with the traffic wise, like my daughter said that there was a few accidents right there at our crossroad right there, and then, with crime too. Since we moved there 12 years right now, we never had any issues whatsoever where we had to call the police. And if these apartments or whatever is going to be built, who's going to move in and what's going to happen. There's going to be kids, like they said, riding their bikes that I see at the evenings when I take a walk. I see them riding their bikes and they're playing. And then what's going to happen if this complex is going to be built there? And that's my problem there, is our privacy and our, and with the parking lot, like my daughter said, it's so small. When I go and I look there, and then I'm like, how is this going to be built? And the traffic, where is it going to come out from? Where is it going to go in from? And those are the things that I'm thinking now. Yes, I am concerned. That's why I'm here. Thank you.
I would also like to add, adjacent to that street, if you look down, so not like where we are at, but kind of behind, or at least in front of the property where it would be built, there are those houses, and they do have children, and I see them all the time riding their bikes, playing outside in that little street, just because they can, because there's no traffic going right there at that spot. And I mean, same thing with them. I think my mom have met them before. We've met them for sure, and they're like good people, and like the kids too. Like they just, they're being wannabe kids. So I'm just a little concerned along with that, how they also feel. I know if they would have attended the meeting, they would have said the same thing, that their children are there going to be in that front yard. Okay. Mm-hmm. Thank you.
Thank you.
Anyone else? Public hearing? Okay, we'll go ahead and close the public hearing. So any other questions, comments from council? No? Go ahead,
So one thing we're looking at tonight is just the zoning, not the site plan yet, which would have to come back. Something I found interesting, though, is that it was limited to 2 stories originally, 28 feet. And then the zoning that we did tonight, even, one of the first ones we did, was limited to 28 feet up against the houses of the area right behind it. And when these folks bought their house, there was a 2-story building there. So I think that's the expectation. I don't know if it'd work with 2-story buildings, but it's one of those things of, going up to 3-story right there is going to be very hard on the folks that live there. And then the other thing is, you can push the buildings to the street, like Jacqueline said, because of the zoning. But again, we're talking about site plan stuff, and we're not deciding the site plan tonight, just more of the zoning. So that would be something that the Planning and Zoning Commission would hear when it gets to the site plan part of it. So, but the 28 feet is kind of, because that was a condition originally, and then it was removed, which was interesting to me. And even though tonight, like I said, the last one, or the first ones we looked at, was a 28-foot limit near the houses. So I'm kind of, in favor of the 28-foot.
Can you put that back in? Can we put it? Mm-hmm.
So I would look to the city attorney to see if he could advise us whether or not council could add that condition back in.
Council always has the opportunity to, add conditions in if you think it would be appropriate. I think the staff, I don't believe it was a staff condition, right? It was one that they had kind of looked at to do that. I think part of the reason it had been left is that under the B1 zoning, it's 35 today. So, to limit it to that. But council could certainly do that. You have the, the opportunity to do that, to limit, what those are, just like you always do. You either have the opportunity to approve it, to deny it, to table it, or approve it with those conditions that you think are appropriate. So if you did want to add a condition limiting whatever development it would be, it could be office, under the B3 zones, there's a number of things they could do, just like under the B1 zones, but you could, limit that to either 28 feet or 35 feet, depending on what you would want to do. So what we would do is if that's requested, then after the ordinance is moved, we'd look to amend it to add a condition limiting it to 28 feet.
Because the other thing too is it is in our downtown area, and that's, it's a vacant lot right now, and that is a good use. We did a bunch of studies with the Urban Land Institute and everything about population downtown to help the downtown grow, and I understand your neighborhood, and it should be a nice building, and they said they built a nice building. But I do definitely see the three-story thing right behind your house. Originally it was not a three-story building there,
Right.
so.
I don't know if a three-story building would fit in that area
that area.
either. When we think about our downtown and what that is, I just don't see that fitting into it. Well, and I think my concern, well, first of all, thank you all for coming. It's important for you to give feedback on both ends. And so, you're right, we expanded the downtown area, and we're trying to revitalize and bring people and improve and bring more people like you that are investing and want to live there and have access to the downtown that's in our transit area where they can get around town. So, we are focusing, my concern is, when these people bought their home, there was one two-story house there.
Right.
And so I wasn't sure because we didn't get, well, there may have been one rendering. Was there one thing that showed the what they're going to look like? I mean, or is there nothing in, I can't remember. There's nothing in the packet.
No.
There's just discussion that they were going to build,
Three-story.
how many units are going to be there, Jacqueline? I mean, do you have any idea?
I do not, Mayor.
Okay.
There's been, no official application has been filed. There's
Right.
been discussion with the applicant, but we were just going with the zoning first, and
Right.
then the next step would be the
Right.
site plan. So there will be additional discussions with the applicant.
Okay.
on that.
So during the site plan, they would review that, and there will be, public meetings where people can give community input and, on what they would like to see. I hope that the applicant is here listening too, because you talk about being part of the neighborhood and part of the community, and I hope you're listening to what the people here are saying. Again, they bought their home with one two-story building behind them, not 10 or 12. I don't even know how many they're asking to put in, but it is not a big lot. And so that's my only concern. But then, but again, but I understand where we're trying to go with, building and improving that area. So, and during the site plan and the conditional use permit, when they apply, they will have to go through all the traffic studies. Is that correct, Jacqueline? The traffic studies, there'll be public meetings for input, and those decisions will be made then. Right, okay. So that's my whole thing. I'm, just not.
Would they have to do sidewalks?
Yes, as part of any infill development, there would
Okay.
be public improvement, including sidewalks.
So there will be improvements. Okay. Did you have a
Yeah,
question?
I was just gonna say, I kind of agree with Matt about getting that limit back on there for 2 stories on this now.
Right.
And then that way, and
Whoever.
knowing that this is just a zone change request, but if we get that limit on there now, that's what was there before, that's what will go in now in the future. And then hopefully the applicant and the other residents that have expressed their concerns, and I appreciate the comments and your passion for it. I would hope that they could get together and actually work out something so that they get so that everybody's happy at the end of the day, and that area gets something built and beautifies the area.
I'm in agreement.
Yeah, me too.
Thank you, Matt, for bringing that up.
And, you know, and this is what we consider an infill, you know, lot.
Right.
And so we want to develop it so it's not, like, when you drive by, I live down off of McMurray, and, you know, so I drive down Olive every day. So I understand, you know, I drive by that lot, it's an eyesore right now because of all the dead weeds and everything, and so, so I think, you know, and then, of course, the city took over the lot next door, and so we're not sure what we're doing there, but, you know, we're really trying to improve it and expand the downtown area, so in the end, you know, it, you know, just revitalizes the area, so, so I'm with you, I think, you know, I hope that, you know, this is just a zone change, but there is definitely room for, you know, feedback later in the process. And you talk about maybe some of the neighbors that didn't know what was going on, and, you know, but this is the time to bring them in. You know, if we approve the zone change, it's time to bring them in and give feedback. And the applicant is going to hear that feedback, because it's not going to be a done deal at this point. So, for a multifamily housing, anyways.
And also, it's an interesting area because it's mixed use, so it's kind of a buffer from commercial to residential. So it's a good place for a small project like that. And again, we have a lot of vacant lots, and my grandpa owned a house on Olive Avenue for 50 years, I think, and we sold it a few years ago. But they have all been rehabbed very nicely, especially along I drive down Olive a lot because of memories, but they have been really fixed up, and it keeps coming this way. So having something new there would be nice, and that way when you're coming off Florence too and going down, and then starting the sidewalks in the neighborhood as well, you know, so that would be a good transition, because that's what we try to look for. Zoning is about compatibility too, and there's businesses on one side, houses on one, and then public stuff on the other, so it's kind of a mixed use. And a church there too, yeah, so. But yeah, that's where I'm at.
Okay, so, did I close the public hearing? I don't even remember. I did, okay. Okay, so, any other discussion from council members? So Gloria, if we can have an ordinance number, please. The what?
We'd have to make it.
Oh, okay.
Ordinance number 1178.459. An ordinance of the council of the city of Casa Grande, Arizona, amending zoning ordinance 1178 and its subsequent amendments by changing zoning from neighborhood business to central business on property located generally at the northeast corner of 8th Street and Olive Avenue, Casa Grande, Arizona.
Mayor Fitzgibbons, I move that we approve ordinance number 1178.459 with an amendment to the height of 28.
So if I understand right, then the motion is to move the ordinance as presented with adding condition number 3 to read the maximum height of any structure shall be limited to 2 stories, and then in parentheses, 28 feet.
That is correct.
Second.
Okay. So there's been a motion and a second, and any other discussion here? Okay, so Gloria, if we can have a roll call vote, please.
Councilmember Romo.
Yes.
Councilmember Dugan.
Yes.
Councilmember Badillon.
Yes.
Councilmember Edwards.
Yes.
Councilmember Huddleston.
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Herman.
Yes.
Mayor Fitzgibbons.
And I'm going to vote yes, but I want those of you that are here to know that please continue in this process, because your input is going to be really important, you know, as they come back. And I hope you see, you know, where you know, we're going and trying to revitalize and bring more, you know, just revitalization infrastructure to that area. So please be involved in the process. So I vote yes as well. Thank you again. Okay, so we are now at reports. So we'll go. Who wants to go first? No. How about you?
No reports from me.
No, okay, Sean. Thank you. You're like, I'll start, right?
I would say just thank you to the city, all of our workers, city workers, for the Unity March that was on the 16th, as well as MLK Day of Service, which was on Monday. We had a lot of people. Each year it's been growing. This is our third year. We've given away 645 hot dogs that day. We had over 400 workers, service workers, to go out in our community, and whether it's cleaning up the alleys, painting graffiti, covering it up, so many different projects. And so thankful to all of our citizens that came out, and we had a wonderful time in serving our community. So I'll stop there.
Okay, Matt.
Just real quick, I came to the housing meeting the other night, and it was very well attended, better than I thought. And we heard a lot of good input. And one thing I was thinking while we were doing it is we might want to have some sort of education session on how the zoning works, because one comment I heard is that build to rent went up, or they didn't say, those houses went up right across from Safeway, and we didn't even hear anything about it. And we did have a lot of public meetings about that, I will say, by law. So it'd just be interesting for people to know more about the process. If they're interested in learning about it, we could do something, starting with our thing next Monday will probably help. And I am representing the city now on the TAG group, which is the Tourism Advisory Group. And so once again, we are having our second annual Taco Fest, and it is on March 25th, 2025, from 3 to 9 at Dave White Park. And we'll have Drew Parker, country recording artist, as our headliner, and other mariachi bands and cover bands and kids' performances all throughout the day with everything. So keep looking for that, but mark the date, March 25th, for the Taco Fest, presented by our 2025. What's that? 29th. Thanks. I'm gonna get in trouble from the tourism group, yeah.
Yeah.
The 29th of March, sorry. And I was trying to concentrate on writing 25, but, so at Dave White, March 29th, we'll have all those things I just talked about. So, and then it's a great weekend for the street fair. It's probably 10,000 people down, I mean, literally. That's what I heard at the meeting today, so it was a great day.
Wow, that's great. Bob?
No report.
Okay, Brent?
No reports from me.
And Rebecca?
Just a really quick thank you to Councilman Edwards, Mayor Fitzgibbons, Dr. Lucky for participating in the Unity March. It was a great event. I think we had about 1,000 students, and I want to say a thank you to our police department, fire department, to Larry and our parks for all that they did. It looked great. It turned out great. Kids had a wonderful time. They were safe. And another thank you to Jeff Lavender. I know he's not here, but I'm assuming he's watching. So.
No, and thank you, Councilmember Romo, for organizing that, and Anthony is on the MLK committee, and, of course, Scott McEwen and the whole committee. Both events were great. It was great having the middle school kids there on Thursday doing the march and just remembering what it's all about this holiday, why they're getting the day off too, so that was great. And then, of course, yesterday at the service project event, just thank you. The staff was great. Our code enforcement, Byron, and Priscilla kind of spearheaded that. Our community services department working with that, with everything, figuring out the cleanup, where they're going to go. And so, no, it was a great, beautiful day. And to Larry for going and painting. He was out there doing the graffiti. He's a little sore today, so he was doing some of the graffiti abatement there. So thank you. Thank you, Larry, and thank you to all the staff. It was great. Both events were really good. The Youth Commission, it was great visiting them. Every time I'm with the Youth Commission, they amaze me, how talented and smart, and we're going to do good with the next generation.
All the students, I forgot.
Yeah.
I mean, we had both football teams, both ROTC,
At the
cheerleading
MLK.
squads, from both schools. It was just a great event.
It was a great event.
Great event with a lot of youth.
So many kids, so many youth there. So, and then the Youth Commission, thank you for inviting me. Speaking of youth, we have, I think I mentioned last meeting, for those of you that know seniors, the Cesar Chavez Memorial Committee has their application. They're open until, February 21st. So please go to CesarChavezPinell.org and submit, if anyone, is a senior, graduating senior, for the applications. So last week I attended the mayor's safety lunch. Again, thank you to Larry and the staff for just recognizing the employees that, just take pride and, and their commitment to safety in the workplace. We gave certificates to over 40 employees that have been making sure they're attending safety, sessions and being safe in their workspace. So that was a great lunch. The affordable housing meeting, we're going to be continuing. That was just one meeting to start, and I know a lot of people left with some unanswered questions, and they weren't sure what the outcome was going to be. And so just remember, this was just the very first meeting that we were trying to get input, and that data is going to help us as we move forward on direction of where we're going to go. The point in time count, which is the homeless count, is going to be this Thursday. And so we had a great training last week where there was, I think 50 or 60 volunteers that came to the public safety facility and were trained on how to go out and perform this point in time count that's going to be on Thursday. So if you haven't gone through training, they do ask for volunteers to go through this training, but if you really want to still do the point in time count, we're meeting at 7 a.m. here in the council chambers, and they're actually going to do it for 3 days in a row, not just one, so we can try to get the most count that we can with the homeless. And thank you to again, code enforcement for participating. Our housing department, Mary Allen, is heading that up, and all the community organizations and our police department. Thank you, Chief. You guys have always been supportive of all the volunteers that are going out and doing this count, and people were excited to participate. So we have quite a few people that are ready to go this week to count the homeless, and we count on that information. For those of you that don't know, we count on this information, the data, for future funding, and so we know what's going on in the community and where our homeless are. So we'll be getting that information after. Let's see. Pardon?
The street fair.
The street fair. I know, the street fair was great. I think you
I
brought
had a
up.
great
No,
time
it
at the
was
street fair.
great.
That was a great
Pastor on Main
turnout,
Street,
so many
great
people.
turnout.
Yeah.
Great. Everything about it was great.
Car show.
So I think that the last thing is just the next week we have our open house with the mayor and council, January 27th at 6 p.m. So please mark it on your calendars and join us. And if you would like to, if you can't attend the meeting, there is going to be a survey online that community members can give input on, where they see, the city and what they would like to see, and some of the, issues or whatever they would like to see in the community.
At the rec center, though.
What did I say?
No, you didn't. But
Oh, at the rec center.
Yeah, so people know.
Yes, at the recreation center. So that's it. Just a lot of meetings during this, all this transition, and there's so much going on besides all these activities. Obviously, a lot of discussion on water, on transportation, working on homeless, Larry's a busy man, that's for sure. And Stephen, we're talking, recycling and recreational activities and things like that. So a lot going on, and we're looking forward to moving into the CIP plan and the budget coming up. Sorry, Larry, or Brett, I'm not going to say much more on that. So with that, one more thing here?
Yeah,
Sure.
I just forgot to thank Lisa. She came to the youth commission meeting and talked to the kids for like an hour, but it seemed like 15 minutes. It was a great, it didn't.
She was able to speak for an hour?
Yeah.
You know what they tell me? 3 minutes.
Yeah, she started out, but
Tell
it
a
was
preacher
really
3
great.
minute.
I learned a lot about Lisa. I've known Lisa for
I know.
15 years, and I learned even stuff I didn't know. Yep.
things.
But it was great to talk to the kids and encourage. Her whole thing was encouraging people to keep in touch with your roots here in Casa Grande and come back.
Right.
Yep.
Yeah, no, thank
Nothing
you.
against you yet.
You'll get 5 minutes next time. So, okay, with that, we'll go ahead and move to adjourn.
So moved.
Second.
Okay, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, thank you. Good night, everyone.